these ban, and that maybe revenue may not really, be a thing for them anymore because, but many people can patronize those sachet and 200 milligram PET bottles that has been banned by NAFDAC. But again, on the flip side, Nigerians, there's many Nigerians who've heard us saying, look, this thing is destroying our communities. It's killing a lot of young people, taking away also from the labor force, because a lot of young people have taken to drinking this cheap alcohol, alcoholic contents, and it's destroying their lives. It's even children get involved. You see children buy sachet, alcoholic drinks for as low as 100 naira, and that's not good enough, because alcohol should not be for people under 18, and even those who are above 18 are advised to drink responsibly. But when it's overly available and too cheap, that it could lead to that. But again, on the other side,
right,
people have a right to choose what they want, don't they?
Well,
right?
they do have a right to choose what they want,
especially if they're old enough to make such decisions for themselves. If they're above 18, why do we have to force them? I mean, we see that even tobacco, no one is forcing anyone not to smoke tobacco. They're just banned advertisements. They also enforce the labeling. The warning on the labels,
that's right,
on the packs. So why don't maybe we should have such a thing? I'm just saying, rather than outrightly ban, this product, why don't we have these warnings on these sachets to say, drink responsibly. Alcohol should be consumed by only people above 18, and all of that, rather than ban it, because there are people who, some people tell you, look, the condition of the country is terrible. We cannot afford expensive alcohol, but we need the alcohol to help us forget about our problems and cope with the economic situation. So it just leaves you confused at some points. But again, Nigerians would have their say this morning. We'll get to hear from you if you're listening.
Well, based on that question, that you asked, the truth is, what do you think would really happen, even if we have all of that? I mean, we keep having some of those regulative, discourse on these issues. In fact, the manufacturers will tell you you're liable to die young. You may have liver issues, kidney issues, and stuff like that. But has it really stopped? It doesn't still stop the fact that we are seeing some of these issues rear its ugly heads, in terms of health of the Nigerian, populace, in terms of the rise in crime. But that notwithstanding, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, that is MAN, have had, quite a close call with NAFDAC, coming to refute that they are in on the ban on alcohol. And in fact, they've come out, through members of the Distillers and Blenders Association of Nigeria, which happens to be a subsector under the MAN. They've repeatedly expressed reservations over the planned implementation of the ban. Now, NAFDAC had also, in a statement released, insisted that the ban, which affects alcohol beverages in sachets and small volume, that's PET and glass bottles below 200 milliliters, was a collective decision. That's where MAN is coming out to say, no, we are not in any collective conversation with you and all of that. So,
but again, NAFDAC has, as a regulator, says we did not register this category for a reason. We don't want it produced. So if you're producing this, you're producing it illegally. It's illegal, to produce these things because we did not register that. If it's not registered, it means that NAFDAC does not want it.
If it is not registered,
then it's illegal.
If it's illegal, it's been there for a while, and NAFDAC has turned the other eye. This
ban has been in effect. I think there was this conversation in 2018 about
about the same thing.
The same thing, and the manufacturers went on to produce them. The Distillers and Blenders, whatever association, it went on. The members went on to continue to produce this, PET bottles and sachets. But again, like I would always say, what happens to the rights of individuals to choose what they want for themselves? As adults, people have a right to,
Right.
because I know people who say, look, see, if I don't take these things, I can't sleep. If I don't get my dose of alcohol, I can't sleep. But I can afford all of the expensive ones. But on the flip side,
Yeah.
my argument would be some of these things that you consume are not well distilled. Some of them are fake. So how do you distinguish between the fake and the original ones? Because just anybody can go ahead and produce these things for you.
I'd like to also come in there. When you talk about the fake and the original, are we saying that the original, the effect it has on the person is quite different from what the fake would have?
Well, as much as the original also
Yes.
has its,
It's perks, yeah?
yeah, and how much it hurts the kidney and all of that, the fake would do more damage because there's smooth, well blended alcohol, and then there is just that one that's just there, So people need to be careful. Even when you drink luxurious drinks, people are always advised not to take the fake ones because the adulterated or fake, luxury drinks also have bad effects or worse effects on your health than the well distilled ones.
Well, anyways, the conversation is still trending here, and we're looking at matters that concern a ban on sachet alcohol as well as the minimum wage. We could also look at the minimum wage and talk just a little bit about that, but
Yeah, that leads us to the conversation on the minimum wage.
That's
because
right.
Maybe people earn better, they wouldn't be settling for
the
sachet
cheap
alcohol and
sachet
those
alcohol.
tiny 200 millimeter,
yeah,
or what do you call it, or
milliliters,
now,
yeah, milliliters.
Bottles, because they'll be able to afford better drinks if that's what they want,
Right.
if that's what they want. Let's not also forget that in some parts of the country, when we talk about bans, some people have taken it upon themselves to say, look, there's not going to be alcohol in this part of our
Right. Yeah, that's
part of
right.
our country, and,
That's right.
and that's still there. Now, talking about the minimum wage, the NLC president Joe Ajaero is saying that the 200,000 naira minimum wage no longer realistic. Maybe it'll talk about ₦1 million. Maybe a request for ₦1 million wouldn't be out of place considering how things have turned out in the last couple of months. He was on national television yesterday, speaking with Ruben Abati, and this is what he said. Take a listen.
Million naira may be relevant if the value of the Nigeria continues to depreciate, and we need to, if the inflation continues to depreciate, if it is not checked, because the demand of labor is equally dependent on what is happening in the society. You remember that by the time we are contemplating 200,000, the exchange rate was at about 800, 900. As we talk today, the exchange rate is about 1,400 or even more. Now, those are the issues that determine the demand, and it is equally affecting the cost of living. And we had always said it that our demand will be based on cost of 50,000 naira or more. A bag of even corn, locally produced corn, is about 56 or more. On and on. Food stuff is getting out of reach. Now, are we going to get a minimum wage that will not, be enough for transportation even for 1 week? We have to factor in all these issues, and that will determine the federal government's commitment to this negotiation. It's not just that they want to give us minimum wage. The old minimum wage will be expiring by April, and ordinarily the federal government ought to have set up the committee 6 months before that time, so that negotiation would have commenced. But up to now, the federal government didn't do it until they inaugurated the committee, and the committee have not sat. So it appears we are going to work within 1 month or two to agree on a figure. And I doubt how those ones are going to, especially when you look at the people that the federal government assembled, as members of the committee. They looked at some of the governors that are not paying even the existing minimum wage. And even they have a minister of budget, who didn't implement his minimum wage as a government, on the issue of minimum wage. Some of us are not seeing a bright future on the work of this new minimum wage committee?
Well,
Okay.
still on that matter, one of the big issues coming out of this is the request by the secretaries of the government of the federation, requesting for 1 billion naira for the inauguration of the tripartite committee. But again, the president approved 500 million naira for that committee, and many people have said, "Oh, it seems like some people in that committee may just be getting their minimum wage, and then whatever it is that they settle for, the ordinary Nigerian worker may have to take home at the end of the day, because I mean, look at the number of people who are there. These people already earn salaries. Shouldn't they be just coming to do their job, so that it may be just allowances for for when they come in to sit down?
Yeah.
Why are we budgeting that much? 1 billion
Naira, yeah, Nacho, it's really a sad, thing. I must confess to you, and that's why many Nigerians really feel as though they've been taken for a ride. Many Nigerians feel that every time that the government convenes, it's just playing to the gallery and maybe bidding for time, because and time is a luxury. Time is not something that the person who is at the hospital right there, who needs some care, who needs some some growth in his minimum wage is wanting to hear. Time is not on the side of that, a parent who's struggling to put his 5 children at the university. That man doesn't need this time. It doesn't have this time. There's no luxury. And you can listen to what Joe Ajero is saying right there, saying that, look, it seems as though the government, knowing what they should have done, a committee should have been set up 6 months before time, but now this committee has been set up finally and they've not even sat. And to think that there is a 1 billion naira that is requested so that your committee can come together and look at the matters that concern the populace, the ordinary Nigerian who only wants the basic things that support life, food, shelter, clothing and all of that. It's almost ridiculous.
Also, looking at this, people say, look, the way that things are going, the way that the crime rate is increasing can be attributed to the hardship and difficulty that many workers face. Because imagine that you're maybe a level 7, whatever, some of the lower cadre workers.
That's right.
In civil service, and you earn 30,000 naira
as a minimum
wage. At this time, and that is expected to feed your family, pay the bills and bring you to work. So let's not even exaggerate. Let's just keep it at the bare minimum. Let's say you have one kid and that kid has to go to school. How much do you pay for school? How much do you spend on feeding that kid?
For 30 days.
For 30 days. At the moment, a measure of rice sells for above 2,000 naira, and in some cases, at about 2,000, and that's just for a man who has one kid.
That's right.
Imagine people who have 3, who have 4. How much do you pay to get to work now? I don't know that there's any place. Let's look at the FCT. If you have to work in any of the ministries, departments, and agencies, and let's say you pay 200 naira for transportation. I don't think there's 200 naira for transportation
it's not even
anywhere
feasible
within the city now. So how much is this person left to manage with if they have to go to work for 30 days or 25 days, as the case may be?
So what you see is that this person is pressured, and then if this person sees an opportunity to cut corners, it's a free for all. It's a free fall.
100%. So I'm looking at a situation where we can, someone said, if we have to tackle the insecurity, tackle the economy, we have to get to the root of it.
That's right.
At one of the Senate committee hearings on the economy, Senator, what's his name now, was there, and he was speaking about how for the foreign exchange issues, a lot of people have taken to receiving bribes in dollars.
That's
and that's one of the problems. And he says it starts from the top all the way down to the bottom. And if we do not tackle this, all right, he says everyone is involved. They are involved, they themselves in the Senate. Seems like I think I should find that audio and play that for you, because he said a lot about how we need to be circumspect. We need to look critically and begin to tackle the problems head on and headlong, instead of just shying away and playing ostrich.
I could also want to tell you, I wouldn't want to trend on the popular belief that this entire situation is from the top to the bottom. No, I understand that. Look, leadership should be a serious business. It should be something where the people who are at the top should be able to lead by example, right? And take, for example, what we just saw with the committee that's been set up, demanding or requesting for 1 billion naira to do their jobs, to ensuring that their people, our people, got the most or the best or something that is averagely good, of the system, are saying what they are saying, right? But I think it is also a two-way thing, from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top. Who are those that come from the bottom to the top? They're still these people.
I'm going to say this. If you have a decisive leadership, if you have leadership that knows what they want,
Right.
visionary leaders,
Right.
they are able to take responsibility when things are going wrong.
Okay.
And also look within themselves to say, what's going on, what's going wrong here, let's address it. I don't care if it's my brother that's messed up.
Right.
Over the weekend we saw the president of Hungary resign because she made a bad judgment call by pardoning somebody who was accused of sexual cover-up, sexual exploitation cover-up. I mean, that's not stealing. That's not corruption.
Right.
She didn't steal money. She didn't have people in her cabinet steal. She just made a wrong decision
Judgment
to pardon somebody
Okay.
who was involved in a sexual offense matter, right? And it wasn't like she pardoned the person who was directly involved. She pardoned the person who
Was an accomplice?
who was accused of covering up.
Okay, covering like that's an
those
accomplice,
people,
yeah.
right? So, and she took the high road. She resigned 2 years into office, right, for just such a thing. That's what we need. We need people who are able to look within themselves, look critically at if the president, for instance, today fires 3-4 people, I bet you a lot of people will sit up.
Right.
Right. If the president gets people to do their job, the EFCC, the ICPC, to do their job without fear or favor, all right, and allows them go after the people,
Right.
gives them the backing to go after these people who are really frustrating the economy, I bet you things are going to start looking up. People are going to sit up and act right.
All
Let's
right.
listen to Senator Abdullahi Ningi, who was talking